guests. We do workshops every month on some topic. This one is huge though, and every year there's more implications for this. We started doing this just to help people with gut problems, with irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, and things like this. But it turns out, the more I've been studying it, it has to do with depression, anxiety, obesity, colic, acne, autoimmune disease. Everything under the sun is related to what's going on in your gut, the bugs that live on you and in you. And so here's how crazy it is. There's more of them than you. If you add up all of your cells, there's somewhere between 4 and 10 times of bugs on you than your own cells. Yeah, it's that big a deal. Here's some more cocktail party trivia for you. Nobody's eating, that's good. There's a lot of stuff like that that's coming up, by the way, but here's one for you. The weight of a stool, when you have a bowel movement, the weight of a stool is 2/3 water, but the rest of it is over half of it is, more than half of it is actually bacteria. And what's going on is you have these little bacteria colony forming units living in your GI tract, and the food you're eating is creating a little herd of bacteria who keep reproducing. So the stool you see in the toilet is actually all these bacteria that have been eating your food for you. So they're creating more bacteria. Now they still live there, but they keep passing through your GI tract as they keep populating, creating more mass of a stool. So we started doing this workshop for people with constipation, diarrhea, Crohn's disease, irritable bowel, and people will get like fiber products for that, and there's so much fiber, things like Metamucil, and they would actually kind of drag all your bacteria out and cause you more problems, so you end up dependent on the Metamucil, when really if you're suffering with a problem with diarrhea or constipation, if you just take bacteria, I keep using the word bacteria to help you understand it, probiotics, if you can populate your gut with enough probiotics, then it's self-perpetuating. You now have enough mass every day just eating your food to have a reasonable bowel movement. You should have a bowel movement once or twice a day. Some people don't have a bowel movement every 3 or 5 days, and they're told that's normal. That is not normal. You're just absorbing toxins. You're supposed to be eliminating. They call it eliminating. So, by the way, the word probiotic, it's the wrong word. Probiotic means something that's really good for the organisms. But I don't know where it started. We just started using the wrong word. And so it's actually biotic is what they are. But somewhere along the way, somebody called them probiotics. So we all have to do that. So now when we talk about food for the things that would be probiotic, we call that prebiotic. So just FYI, it's screwy. The nomenclature is goofed up. So what are biotics are probiotics, and what are probiotics are prebiotics. So we're going to talk about both. So, but just a little weirdness about this. Conceptually, it's all throughout the environment. You know, probiotics, bacteria live in the soil, and, you know, corn growing and vegetables growing, they don't just eat, you know, bacteria and whatever. They eat the nutrients broken down. The bacteria break down the nutrients. They break down the nutrients for the plant. So that's what's going on. They're like nitrogen fixing and things like that. So these things live in the soil. The soil is alive. So that's what's happening. So how do we get goofed up? Let me back up and just, here's how it's supposed to work. The bacteria, they're on you and in you. I already told you there's more of them in you. They live on your skin. They live in your eyes, on your face, in your nose, in your mouth, in your ingestion, in your vagina. Everywhere is bacteria. And they're specialized for where they live, depending on the pH, what kind of food is there for them. So they're specialized throughout your system, and they're there to protect you from the environment. You are born with no protection, and you actually have no white blood cells when you're born either. But what happens is, as you pass through the birth canal, you are coated in the bacteria of your mother, who presumably survived for millennia and is not dead from some whatever pathogenic bacteria or virus. So she's got the correct bacteria by the mere fact that she's surviving on the planet, is pregnant, carrying a baby to term, and here you are having a baby. Well, now you have to protect that baby so that baby is coated passing through the birth canal with the correct bacteria for the environment. This is very fascinating, by the way. They've done, and this is going to get ugly because I don't have a PowerPoint because my laptop died and my new laptop doesn't have PowerPoint. So this week, I don't know what we're going to talk about today. I use PowerPoint to keep me on task. I'm a little ADHD. So whatever pops into my pumpkin head, you're getting it today. So this is where we're going now. So they did the studies of, they study the bacteria that's in people. We're going to talk about this a lot, but this is one little piece right here. They study the bacteria, vaginal bacteria, and they find that when women get pregnant, no matter where you are in the world, there's all kinds of different strains. They can kind of figure out where you are in the world based on the bacteria that are living on you. But when women get pregnant, the bacteria converges, very consistent, same kind of bacteria no matter where you live. Very bizarre. Mostly acidophilus and bifidus, because that's what protects the babies. Those are kind of the main two organisms. You've heard Lactobacillus acidophilus. Well, there's a bunch of different lactobacilli. The word, by the way, lactobacilli, lactose, you know what that is, right? Milk sugar. So these bacteria love milk sugar. Bacilli means they're a rod. They're not a round one. They're a long one. That's all these things are named for, what they eat. Now they name them for who found them, pretty much. So there's a gazillion of them. But the most common are these lactobacilli. And then they have many, acidophilus, lactobacilli rhamnosus. There's a bazillion names after this group. So there's one genus up. And then bifidobacterium is the same thing. A bunch of genus and species after that. And so they're trying to figure this out. And they've been doing it for about, I don't know, maybe 20 years or so. In other countries, I was in Russia in the 90s studying medicine. I have a degree in medicine. And they have a term over there, a diagnosis called dysbiosis. Have you heard it? Yes?
I don't know what it means. Can't remember, but I've heard
it. Yeah. Well, it's like unheard of over here. No one teaches it, never heard of it over here. What it means is you got screwed up bacteria, and that's why you're sick. And in Europe, if they prescribe an antibiotic, actually they're available over the counter, you will also get a probiotic with it, acidophilus or something like that you should take with it. Because the concept is, and this starts early when your kid's got like an ear infection, and this is very common here. Kid's got an ear infection. You give the kid an antibiotic, ideally kills the causative organism for the ear infection, but it also kills everything around it, all the lactobacillus and everything else that was good. And then you will find, okay, kid quits crying, everybody's happy, dad go back to work, and good, thank you, doctor, good job. 3 months later, what? Correct. Because you just killed the immune system. The bacteria are your immune system. And so here's a goofy thing. So when I'm over in Moscow, it's 6 days a week. We were running around the hospital and stuff for a month at a time. It was over 3 years I went over there. It was 93 through 96. And one of the differences, there's a lot of subtle differences between, everybody thinks chiropractic is, you couldn't get into medical school. Turns out medical school is actually quite easy. Chiropractic is very difficult because you have to learn the neurology and really how to change people's behavior. Medical school is, all you do is learn how to name the disease. That's it. And now we got an answer machine, stick everybody in the MRI or you send them off and get some lab work, you name the disease, you're done. Because the drug companies parade through the clinics and the hospitals and they say, this is what you get for that disease and that's what you get for this. It's not difficult. It's not rocket science. You name the disease. I get it, Sometimes it's very difficult. Specialists down at the Mayo, they can name the disease better. But now, meanwhile, even if you do that in medicine, you name the disease, you treat the disease, you gave them the whatever. Well, that doesn't make you healthier. How do you get people healthy? That's a different matter. That's chiropractic. How do we get you run right? How do we get your body to exude health and respond and adapt to everything that you're going to be exposed to, physically, chemically, emotionally, traumas from toxins you're being exposed to, trips and falls, how do we get your body to adapt to? That's tricky stuff. Oh, you got strep, ma'am. Here's your penicillin. That's freaking, anybody in here can do that. That's not, no disrespect. Half my family's medical doctors. It's fine. It's all good. But everybody thinks it's really difficult. It's not. You just got to not quit and spit out exactly what they told you, 2 weeks later. And you do that for 8 years and you're good to go. That's how it works. So anyway, so where was I going with this? So, yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So we have bacteria all over us, right?
Yeah.
Is it all created within the skin coming from, like, is it all in the gut? Or is it created through other means? The bacteria that's all
It's
over
not created.
How does it come?
So, all right. I forgot to tell you this last half of the ear infection story. So, I got really frustrated talking to moms about ear infections back in the 90s when I just got out of school trying to help them with this. I said, listen, what you're doing with the antibiotic, it's like you got dandelions on your lawn, and you hate the dandelions, so you spray the lawn with Roundup herbicide that kills everything. Right? Everybody know what Roundup herbicide is? It's on your corn, it's on your wheat, it's on your cotton, it's on your soybeans, it's on your tobacco if you're still smoking. It's everywhere. Anyway, but you know what it does? It kills everything, right? It's called ground clear. Now, say you do that because you got dandelions, you hate it, you live in Woodbury, they got laws against this crap. You can't be having dandelions in Woodbury, they'll kick you out. So, sorry Woodburyites, if you're watching from Facebook. If you don't plant grass seed, what grows where you just killed everything? Yeah, where do they come from? Where do they come from, Sandy?
Seeds of the former plants environment.
They're just floating around. So now you have fertile territory that is not, there's no competition for the resources. So whatever grows quick, whatever sets up quick, and that's generally the sticker bushes. I spent 8 hours this weekend pulling out freaking sticker bushes. My face was swollen up. I like, dang, I had to stay home Saturday night because my eyelids wouldn't stay open. Because the weeds because I don't live in Woodbury. In Lake Elmo, you can do this. You can have weeds coming out your ears. They don't care in Woodbury or in Lake Elmo. So what happens is the bacteria that live on you and in you, assuming they're healthy, assuming you were inoculated at birth and you ate what your mother ate, breast milk, and then what they ate, you are perfectly suited for that environment, whether it's sub-Saharan Africa or it's England or here or wherever. Assuming if the person who's birthing you is healthy, you are going to be inoculated and stay kind of within your cocoon, and it's all going to be fine. That's not how the world works because we jet around the world and we're exposing our kids to all kinds of crazy stuff. But I'm going to share with you a story from my medical school adventure in Moscow. I have a degree in medicine, but here was microbiology class one day, and admittedly it was Monday morning, and man, it was hard. We were over there 3 weeks, and we went out to somewhere, and I wasn't feeling so good one Monday morning. I wasn't paying too great attention. Anyway, Yevgeny or whatever his name, micro dude, big dude, Russian dude, and we were culturing beta hemolytic streptococcus, strep throat, right? We're culturing that stuff. You ever done that in a petri dish, blood agar petri dish? That's what it grows on. It grows on blood. I forget whose cow's blood or something. We're growing that, and we inoculate the dish, and then you put it in a little bun warmer, and 3 days later you see these little colonies. Oh, look at you! You got, and then you put penicillin or amoxicillin or zithromax on these little tabs, and you see which one kills the most bugs, and now you know, aha, this is what we're going to use when we find this bug. So over there, when somebody comes in with a sore throat, they culture it. They don't just hand out the antibiotic. They culture it, and you grow it, and you go, aha, that's this bug right here. We've killed it with this. That's what we're going to give you. We're going to kill that bug. That's how it's done everywhere except for here. Here we go. I don't know. Sounds like this. Take this. Call me in a week. If it ain't any better, we'll try something else. That's how we do it here. Anyway, I'm not paying very close attention. I'm hanging out, sitting at the desk, and guy's walking around with a petri dish. He's got the loop, and he's kind of stirring around his beta hemolytic streptococcus, and he walks up to me, and he goes like this with it, smears it down my forearm. Oh, okay, I'm paying attention. And then he's talking to the rest of the guys, but he's got his hand on my arm. I can't move. He's a big dude. He's like 300 pounds. And I'm like sweating. I'm going, oh my God, are you kidding me, bro? And he talks for, 10 minutes, seemed like an hour. And then he goes, okay, stay right there. He gets a clean blood agar dish, and he goes like this, and he sticks it on my arm. He says, okay, you can wash off if you want. We're going to put that in. We're going to inoculate and see what's what. And 3 days later, guess what? No beta hemolytic streptococcus, just normal staph epidermis and lactobacillus and things, normal stuff that's on your skin. Oh, dang, well, that was a heck of a lesson there. This stuff kills. The stuff you have, if you're healthy, crowds out. You can't, if you're feeding your grass, dandelions cannot set up shop there, right? If you live in Woodbury and you guys are fertilizing your lawns all the time, right? Who lives in Woodbury here? You fertilize your lawn? You're fertilizing your lawn all the time. It keeps, you need a chair. Do we have one more chair, Dr. Fleming? Right, I know, but you get the idea. If you're feeding your lawn, the roots are healthy, the grass is healthy, there's no way a dandelion seed flying by can set up shop in your nice healthy lawn. That's what's supposed to happen. So, on the other hand, if you live, one more sidebar to the story, there's a couple here who lives in Woodbury, and they were going to take out a big section of their lawn for a vegetable garden in the back of their house. They live down by Eagle Valley. And he goes, hey man, do you want some sod? I go, yeah, I live in North St. Paul. I got a crappy yard. So he gives me, I don't know, about 20 by 30 of sod. I drag it over in a trailer. I put it in my yard at North St. Paul. And I don't know, about 6 months later, I go, hey Ron, man, that was really nice grass, but it didn't hold up. It looks crappy North St. Paul grass now. He goes, well, do you feed it? Do you put fertilizer? Oh no, we don't do that in North St. Paul. Well, you get North St. Paul grass then, bro. That's how it works. So we have to talk about how to one, plant grass seed, get your microbiome normal again, and then how to feed it and care for it. So that's what we're going to spend the rest of our time doing. But there's a bunch of crazy stuff around it. You have in your hands this is a rather long, this is from 2016, and you have an AI-generated synopsis of it. Oh, do we got more of those?
No.
Okay, can you make a copy of somebody's everything, please?
Well, here, they can have mine, and we can share ours.
Oh, they got two of them up here. Thanks. You got it all? So I'm just hitting the points on this one right here. So everything is really happening right here that I'm going to be chatting about. That's a synopsis of this. AI generated. I'm going to be covering some of these things. Some of the stuff we don't really need to know. But so really you have to think about your microbiome as another organ in how it functions in your body, because it does all kinds of crazy things. It protects you. It keeps out the bad bacteria because it uses up all the resources, assuming it's correct. But what we know from studies that started, probably 15 years, 3,000 years ago, oh boy. Well, let me just talk about the U of M first. U of M kind of was the first guys doing it. And they're at, about like flesh-eating bacteria and penicillin resistant and antibiotic resistant bacteria now, right? They've evolved because we have antibiotics in the food supply, in the animals, it was everywhere. So now bacteria have mutated around, like COVID mutated around the vaccine. See, there it came up. Now I get kicked off Facebook again. Can't get through without saying the V word. So, like COVID mutated because of the environmental pressure. COVID would have died out because of the environmental pressure. It mutated very quickly because of single strand. But bacteria do this as well. Pertussis does this now. Pertussis did this as a result of the pertussis vaccination. Pertussis vaccination created a huge roadblock in the environment to the pertussis organism. So it actually mutated around it. There's parapertussis now. Not effective to vaccinate against it. So there's rising whooping cough now because of that. They say it's because you're not vaccinated. It's actually a different organism that mutated around it. But anyway, so they got this penicillin or antibiotic resistance bacteria happening. Vancomycin resistant. Vancomycin is like the antibiotic of last resort. So they have this resistance happening in hospitals. If you're hospitalized, they don't know what to do and you're going to die. So what they tried, they said, why are some people getting all these crazy bacteria, flesh-eating bacteria and all this stuff, and other people don't seem to be bothered by it? Maybe there's something about this microbiome. So what they did was, who knows what they did? What'd they do?
Fecal transplant.
Fecal transplant, give her, probably that's the word. It's exactly what it sounds like. They studied this and they found that you have to have your donor feces can't be any more than 15 minutes old or they're no good. And you got to get them in the recipient in a hurry. And so they tried a few different ways. There's the north-south and the north route and the south route. Both of them work. they're notorious. The U of M is notorious for their invention of the poopsicle. And that's based on, if you go back 3,000 years ago, the Chinese had the same idea. They said, well, why are these people sick? Maybe these healthy people, they gave them what was called yellow soup, which was basically, somebody else's poop distilled down. They said, maybe if you give them the poop, and so people drank the yellow soup to get better 3,000 years ago. So this is not news. We just lost it in the antibiotic. You guys are already, are you going to throw up? Do we need throw up bags? It's terrible.
When did it start at the U of M?
Huh?
When did it start?
I know. I was reading about this 10 years ago over there, and everyone was laughing. I used to get these tapes, of current research, and there's all kinds of funny stuff that happens in Minnesota. Low back surgery without anesthesia to finally figure out. Like when I went to school, they said there was no nerve endings on discs. Your discs in your spine. They said there were no nerves on them. Well, these crazy people here in Minnesota, Institute for Low Back, did this. They did surgery without anesthesia for people who have back surgery. They kept poking it. Says, yeah, that one goes down my leg. It wasn't the nerve, it was the disc. They go, oh, there must be nerves on the disc is how they got there. And that was, I don't know, 15, maybe 20 years ago. But so all kinds of interesting things. So now it's happening all over the place. There's probably about 10 or 15 research places working on this. And the gist of it is this. We know that we need balance. We know that we need balance across the different species, but we don't know what all the species do. Now, while they're working on it, they figured out some basic stuff that in general, lactobacillus species and bifidobacterium species are the main ones. But there's some interesting things while they're working on it. They found that a handful of species cause people to lose weight. A handful of species, in fact, that one in the refrigerator keeps people from gaining weight. The green one in the refrigerator. But they don't know which component of it. Nobody knows. So we've isolated like Lactobacillus rhamnosus, Bifidobacterium rhamnosus, a couple other ones. I wrote down some notes, and it's not important. I just want you to understand how important it is and the reason for that. So you get that it protects you from bacteria, other invading pathogens, right? Because it works like healthy grass, and dandelion can't set up here. But if you got bad bacteria, here's the other half of the story. So these things are far more helpful or sinister, depending on how you think about it, because of this. So you think your brain is making all the decisions for you, right? What you think. But it turns out you have, you have the gut feeling, right? You have a huge amount of nerve endings going to your GI tract. A huge amount. And those nerve endings go to your brain. And like most nerves going to a muscle or wherever, it's about 50-50 messages going up and messages coming back. For instance, when you want to move your bicep, it has to send proprioception information to your brain about it's moved. Okay, stop sending the signal, right? They're in the joint receptor, tells you, all right, it's too far. You got to respond to that. So there's about a 50-50 coming and going in most nerves. However, the nerve that goes to your gut, called the vagus nerve, it's about 90-10. About 90% coming from the gut up to the brain. Why would that be? It turns out the bacteria, so these bacteria, they're in your gut. So we're going to spend most of our time talking about what's going on in your gut. Although they're in your nose, they're in your eyes, they're in your skin, in your vagina, they're everywhere, right? But the ones in your gut are the ones, the main actors. And here's why. Just a small thing. We've known forever that you can't, we don't make B12. You have to get it from your diet. But it's actually bacteria who create it. It's the bacteria who make the B12, and then you get to absorb it in your large intestine. But these bacteria don't just do that. They digest a lot of things for you. They sequester toxins for you. Different species do that. Some of them keep you from absorbing fat. They keep you, but here's where I go with this interesting. They actually send chemicals. They create chemicals that bind to receptors in your intestine that go to your brain and tell you what to eat. So, if you got bacteria that like Pop-Tarts as their favorite substrate, it's going to be very difficult for you. You could be going, why do I want to eat Pop-Tarts all the time? It's because you have crazy bacteria in your gut signaling your brain to go find you some Pop-Tarts. There's they say this weird fish-bird cycle. There's bacteria that lives in a fish-bird, and the bird poops and it feeds the fish, and the fish eats this bacteria, and when the fish are born, they stay down low, but when they get older, this bacteria exerts influence, makes them go to the surface, and the bird gets to eat the fish. And it's a crazy cycle. The bacteria cause that. And that's kind of going on in us. That these bacteria are in there signaling for what to eat. So if you have bacteria that like celery, well, okay, you're going to be a guy who eats a lot of celery. You know, that's all fine with me. But if you keep eating fast food, particularly in this research, they noted French fries. French fries are like, they feed the bad bacteria big time, and they keep demanding more French fries. So you keep going to get the French fries because you got the bad bacteria. And so, those bacteria don't help you fight. Those are called pathogenic bacteria. They're not helping you fight the fight against the environment. We want the good guys. The good guys that have you eating blueberries, for instance. Those guys. Those are the good bacteria. So how does that happen? That's the real trick. So, and again, we don't know the full depth and breadth of it. There's somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 different species of what we call good bacteria, right? I don't know, there's 1 million bacteria, but the ones that would inhabit our bodies and help us, probiotics, 6,000 to 8,000 different species. And we just started studying it, I don't know, 30 years ago, of all the things. So we don't know what they all do. So we're just starting to, get to the tip of the iceberg, and we got some basic foundational stuff. But before we know, we can't really tell you, oh, buy this for that, get this for that. And I don't know that that's a reasonable approach anyway. A guy was asking me the other day about a book he had bought and a subscription he had gotten. I can't remember the guy's name, you're Steely or Streely or something like this. And he sends me this 300-page document, and I'm reading through it, and it's a guy who does like natural. You guys know who Dr. Mercola is? You familiar with his marketing style? He's an osteopath. He's from Chicago. His office is in Chicago. And he was the first guy to do this. He was the first guy online to do this. And he would put out material in video and in print, so however you consume it. But he'd go, this is natural health care, but it was all take this for that, take this for that. Here's your disease, take this for that, take this for that. I don't know that that's much different than Western medicine anyway. You're still just taking this for that. I don't think that's a huge improvement, although it's probably safer, but he's become a multimillionaire, and his wife is what is her thing online called? I don't know. She's on the dozen, the dirty dozen of the misinformation crowd and the whole COVID thing. Elizabeth, Health Nut News. Elizabeth, yeah, Health Nut News. You've track her down. Very good stuff. He and his wife, they lived down in Florida, but they were one of the original people doing this. But it's this for that. And so that's why I'm a little concerned about giving you, take Rhamnosus to lose weight or whatever. Don't do that. The real important thing is, if you haven't been eating right, here's the things that upset your probiotic apple cart. Antibiotics, of course. If you get antibiotics as a child, one course, I can't remember the numbers because it differs in all these categories. Obesity, diabetes, depression, ADHD, asthma, eczema, allergies. Your risk goes up. One course of antibiotics as a child. All those things go up. 2, it goes up astronomically. Because now you're being exposed to all this stuff, and you don't have the normal biome to protect you from it. So this starts that early. So, years ago, not too many years ago, I had an associate here who, her father and I we went to Castle Elementary together. And she stops in here one day and she says, hey man, I'm thinking about going to chiropractic school. My dad said I should talk to you. And so she does. She gets out of chiropractic school, and then she's interning here. But her mother's a nurse. And you've heard me say this before. It's challenging for nurses. This gal has UTIs every 3 weeks for the last 15 years. And disabling. Can't come into work, bent over in pain, disabling UTIs. Been to the doctor many, many times, got every crazy antibiotic. And I say, well, the dandelions. And she goes, what? Really? Just do it. Get adjusted and do this. And lo and behold, it takes about 1 to 2 years. But at 32 years old of doing this for whatever, 20 years of UTIs, it ain't rocket science. My dentist grandmother, she's 90 something, and she has antibiotic resistant overgrowth going crazy, and she's in the hospital and dying. And they go, well, I don't know, maybe just give her, if somehow somebody in, wherever this is in Wisconsin, Ladysmith, I think it was, will just take probiotics. And that turned everything around. This is not that long ago. This is probably 10 years ago. So the power that probiotics influence in your life is impressive. So ideally, we'd just be inoculated from our healthy parents. You get breastfed for a year or two, and now you're eating healthy food, and you're just happy the rest of your life. And that's kind of how it goes for Dr. Fleming. She didn't really get sick much because she was raised, she left already. Okay. So she was raised like this, so she knows this stuff. And I don't know if you guys know this, but she's expecting. So all of you, when you come in here, do me a favor and say, are you pregnant? Do that. Secret. Do that. I know. Because that's funny stuff. I think it's pretty funny. She was complaining about it because people are doing that. I go, well, that's better than going, well, what's the deal, man? You're getting kind of chunky. That's mean. That's mean. That's mean. That's mean stuff there. Anyway, so ideally you're inoculated, healthy mother, but here's the thing. Healthy mothers are now given antibiotics before birth, so they're screwed up. So we are bearing children who are now immune incompetent. Of course they get sick, they're getting antibiotics, and it just goes on from there. And then they got asthma, allergies, all this stuff, Crohn's disease, irritable bowel, they're having colon resections and all kinds of crazy things, and diabetes, and they're fat. I don't know if you've been to school lately. When all of us are like my age, how many fat kids were in your class?
1.
Right? Right? Have you been to a grade school lately? There's like one skinny kid. It's completely backwards.
One kid allergic to peanuts.
Yeah.
One kid.
Back.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't bring up the V word again. Actually, there's a probiotic that is protective against peanut allergies. It protects you against peanut oil. I was just reading that today. I didn't know that. But that's not why people have it. It's because the vaccines are cultured and have peanut oil in them. So not all of them, but some of them. So you should feed babies like bananas and things. You should keep honey away from babies. Perfectly reasonable to inject egg yolk and bananas and human DNA and all kinds of crazy. Perfectly reasonable, but don't feed them honey and bananas and things like that. They'll develop allergies. But if they develop allergies after we inject them, it's not got nothing to do with that. Just so you know, I'm just saying that's how it works. So anyway, perfect world is you're inoculated by a healthy mom, you eat healthy, it's all good. But it's not perfect. Mom's microbiome is screwed up, so now the kid's microbiome is screwed up. Even if you get away with it, here's the things that screw up your microbiome. Stress, cortisol goes up your microbiome. Alcohol screws up your microbiome. Sugar screws up your microbiome. What else? Eating in like a same diet every day screws up your You need a varied diet to support a wider range. You need to cross a range. We still don't know what it is, but we're getting closer to knowing, all right, this much lactobacillus, this much bifidum, this much whatever. We know that gets closer to the mark when we study populations. You can tell, by the way, you can tell where people live by studying their poop. You can tell where they live because the bacteria are endemic to the areas. If you live in Africa, or if you live in Germany, or if you live here, you can tell where they live by looking at the poop. Also, you can tell whether people are fat or not by looking at the poop with 95% certainty. By looking at the bacteria in the poop, you can tell people whether they're fat or not, or skinny. 95% certainty. If you look at genes, it's about 50-50, but if you look at the bacteria, it's 95. So that's the influence. It's not your genes. It's not your genes that decides whether you're fat or not. It's the bugs that live on you and in you. They have this level of influence. So So those are the things that screwed up. Antibiotics, of course, medications, of course, but also understand if you actually get sick and you have a virus or something and you have diarrhea, that can cause an imbalance too because you just lose them all. So when you have those things, the answer is you need to replant grass seed, right? These are all things that would, like somebody trampled on your lawn, you had a party and your lawn just got destroyed. The lawn's a very good marker for this. So you have to take probiotics. People go, well, I eat yogurt. People say, I don't know, it's all right. Yogurt comes with a pile of sugar, fruit on the bottom. Yogurt, not so much. And I've called Dannon. I go, hey man, how many CFUs are in your Dannon? CFU, by the way, is what's on probiotics. It means colony forming units, roughly how many bugs are in there that are still alive and able to multiply. So CFUs is the number you're after. I said, how many are in your yogurt? They go, we don't know. Oh, well, that seems like. And I think those are the people who advertise that this will help your gut. I think it's Dannon. Who does Yoplait? Who does that? Is that its own? They're the guys who are marketing it like that. And that's been going on for 15 years or so. So yes, it's good for you, but can it fix, you had a couple rounds of antibiotic because, you had whatever respiratory thing or your kid had ear infections? No, it's reasonable to eat that, but that can't fix it. You need big numbers. So there are approximately 50 to 70 trillion bugs on you and in you. Trillion with a T is what they're down to now. They thought it used to be more, but they're pretty close now. There's about 6 to 7 trillion of your cells, and there's 4 to 10 times. So maybe it's 30 to 70 trillion of them. So now you think you're going to go to the Hy-Vee and get a couple 100,000 CFUs and make a dent in that when you have all screwed up 50 trillion bad bugs from antibiotics. 50 trillion to even 1 billion, we are thousands of times away, 7,000 times more. It's not going to make any difference. You need to take much larger numbers than you've been told. If you're going to restore, if you have a problem you're trying to solve or get healthy, you have to take much larger numbers. And so you'll typically see if you go to Whole Foods or Hy-Vee in the health section, generally, 10 billion to 50 billion doses. That's all right. You just have to take more of them. Now, clinically, the only one I know that's been clinically tested for things like irritable bowel and Crohn's disease is that one in the fridge right there. And for people with that problem, they recommend taking 450 billion a day. Right? They actually sell packets of those. Those are capsules, 112 billion each, 60 capsules. But they sell another version, which is 450 billion, 30 days of 450 billion a day for people who are, just can't work because they got Crohn's disease, irritable bowel, and their life is upside down. And so that's the numbers we're talking about to restore it. Now, once you're healthy, if you don't have stuff, you don't get sick very often. That's kind of the marker. If you don't, come down with stuff, you don't have GI problems, you just do a maintenance thing, I would say maybe that 50 billion would work. But if you're trying to solve problems, if you're getting sick all the time, you got UTIs, if you got anxiety, depression, ADHD. By the way, there's all kinds of research now about kids on the spectrum and probiotics. Makes a huge difference for them because they, of course, have leaky gut because their gut's been damaged, right? You know that, right? People on the spectrum in the schools, they got special diets all the time, right? Because their gut's screwed up. They get leaky gut. So there's a protocol for that as well, which, did I give you that? It should be in your thing somewhere. It's a one-pager I just made today. And on the top it says ulcerative colitis, irritable. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Anyway, it's just a good idea. So across the board, I got people in here who take like 15 different vitamins and things, and maybe it's necessary, maybe, I don't know. I think if you're eating right and you're exercising, you're sleeping, you're getting adjusted, you should just supplement the things that would augment your health. And those are very few things. Fish oil, because we live in the Midwest, there's not much omega-3. And you need omega-3. It balances out your inflammation. Doesn't beat back Pop-Tart diet. It won't do that. But if you're not eating Pop-Tarts, it'll help, right? So fish oil, a multivitamin, just, it's inexpensive. It's a good idea. Do you need it? I don't know. It's just a good idea. But probably more helpful than anything else, any besides calcium or anything else you could do, probiotics. It makes more difference than anything across the board. Keeps your bowel regular, maintains your immune system, maintains, once you've finally developed a good bacteria, you're not going to have cravings so much. It suppresses cortisol. It suppresses inflammation. Here's the other thing it does. Everybody's taking these, what is that stupid commercial where they're singing and dancing about being fat and having diabetes? What is that one? What? Jardians. Yeah, I think that's the one. The gal who did the commercial the first time in the pink dress, I can't remember the lyric, but she says it ruined my life. Everybody hates me. They know who I am. I can't get a job anymore because I did the Jardians commercial and the fat diabetic gal. She's a good singer. There's all kinds of them. But anyway, my point was, good bacteria actually do the same thing. They help you sequester sugar and keep sugar levels low and keep your A1C down. Good bacteria do that by doing exactly the same thing that those drugs do. They actually inhibit your appetite and get rid of the sugar for you. So these things are coming out left and right. I didn't give you the name of that bacteria that identified that does it. I have a note on it, but it isn't super important. I did note that it is not in that, but it's just interesting. So how do you get, that is an 8 bacteria thing, and it's a great start. It's probably, you can take whatever you want. I have that in here because it's the only one tested. They are shipped here refrigerated, so they're alive. They come in a little thing. If it has been exposed to heat, don't sell them. So they're shipped here alive. There's 8 strains in there. There's 60 capsules of 112.5 billion. If you do the math on that, it's whatever, 5 trillion is in there. I think there's 5 trillion or 7 trillion bugs in those jars for whatever, $75 or whatever they cost. Now, if you go to Hy-Vee and do the math, you get 30 capsules of 50 billion. And that's 1.5 trillion. And they're $40, $50. And these are $75 for 5 times that, 4 or 5 times that. So that's why I use those. I don't know if it's the end all be all, but it's pretty effective. It's good for people. So we have great results. I've been using it for about 15, 20 years.
Isn't it important to also note that the ones at the grocery store traveled to the grocery store via inside a big metal truck that probably heated up?
Yeah, okay, so freeze dried. So they freeze dry the buggers. So they are viable, but how viable? Not exactly sure. And friends of mine would argue that that's actually the way to go because that's how they are in the environment. So Josh Axe, notably, if you know who that is, or David Jockers, I should say, friend of mine I met at the 2012 Olympics. We were sharing a room, and he was doing exactly the Mercola model. He got out of chiropractic. He's a gazillionaire selling crap online. You can buy vitamins, put your own name on it, and that's what he does. And it's not wrong. It's just how the world works. But he's a big fan of soil-based bacteria, so non-refrigerated. Because he thinks, well, that's babies are crawling around, eating soil, and that's what you're exposed to, and that's what's in your environment. You should crawl around and be exposed to that, and have the bugs that protect you. So that's a theory. So I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying, just from a CFU standpoint, dollars per CFU, if you like, because I like math. It's easy for me. Dollars per CFU, in 8 strains. There's very few that have 8, and we don't know what they all do. I suggest you take those, you have those one day and another one another day and another one another day. Kombucha, right, and other sources, sauerkraut, not the stuff they get in the jar, but the stuff in the refrigerated section. So fermented foods, right, that's what that is, kombucha. I love the blueberry mint, by the way, if you're looking to make points with Dr. B and you happen to be at Hy-Vee. I just happen to have this. You can say that. Crap's expensive though, man. It's like $6 a bottle now. Right. But I don't know how much is in that, and that drives me crazy. How many bugs? Do they have that on that? Because none of the kombuchas I found do. Yeah. So it's good for you though. So you do that as a supplement too. But if you're trying to solve a problem, I would say, take the powder. You can get powder stuff, throw it on your food, throw it on a sandwich, take the capsules, whatever. You got kids, babies, stick your finger in the powder and have them do that before they feed every time because you want to feed because that's what they're going to eat, right? So if you got, babies, you're trying to keep their GI tract right, expose them to that. C-section babies in particular, back to this birth thing, C-section babies got screwed up microbiomes because of this, because they don't pass through the birth canal. They're sterile. And now you got the dang nurses and everybody at the hospital touching them, and they're not so healthy. And there's bugs that live in the hospital that don't survive outside of the hospital now. If you know that, they've created super bugs that can only live in a hospital setting. So you have a C-section baby, they got crazy bugs already. So it's hard to overcome that. So you need to breastfeed and then supplement them to get them back on track. And it takes a bit, but you can do that. But C-section babies generally get more respiratory infections and more problems. So because of that. So now they're doing this. It's not true everywhere, but if you have a C-section baby, they will swab the vagina and then smear it on the baby so you have normal bacteria. You're supposed to pass through the birth canal. So doctors in the know are starting to do that. Is how it's supposed to work. That's how it's supposed to work. So, oh man, lots of stuff. You can actually. People who got goofed up bacteria and messed up IBD, irritable bowel and stuff like that, when we start them on probiotics, we have to start them on low dose because they get really gassy. There seems to me, I'm not sure the mechanism, but they get really gassy and distension from having normal bacteria. So we have to start them on low dose and get them through that. But ideally, that's not you. That's people who got real, significant problems. If you're asking for you, you're not that person. That person is, 5'7" and 95 pounds and got significant, can't eat things. Everything's wrong with their GI tract. Or alternatively, 5'7" and 400 pounds. Same thing. Those guys get totally messed up GI tract. What else did I want to tell you about this? So this helps, but that's a way different category. And those are much larger order size animals, if you will. And although this helps, it isn't super. Bacteria are mostly helpful against other pathogenic bacteria as well as viruses. But parasites, they're much order of magnitude bigger on the microscope scale. And although helpful, I don't think it makes, it's not going to stop, if you're out, drinking, what is it that causes the thing of eating the beaver poop water if you're out in the mountains? I had a guy, when I first got in practice, had this. He was losing weight and couldn't gain weight because he got, what the heck was it? Not toxoplasmosis or something goofy like that, but from eating like beaver poop in the water, raccoon poop in the water, or something like that. Very common. Huh? No, that's in Africa. This is around here. Rocky Mountain something or other. I don't know what the heck it was, but I've only seen it once. Oh yeah, the other thing that goofs you up is Roundup, the pesticide. So if you're eating conventional corn, if you're eating conventional wheat, Roundup herbicide, soy, Roundup herbicide, those are your main sources of that. And everybody's being exposed. Be aware of that these are organism-killing chemicals, and they're everywhere. So you can't avoid them. I forgot to mention that. So let's talk about, so good bacteria, we don't know the names, you just have to take a lot of them, right? So then how do we get them to take root and be the main constituents of our GI tract and on us? That's where prebiotics come in. So you have to feed them. And so prebiotics are mainly vegetables, fruits, things that aren't necessarily super digestible for humans. The bacteria digest them for you, and they create the useful elements. Inulin is one of them. And I think I gave you a handout on that, sources of inulin or something like that, or prebiotic food. Did I make that for you? Was that in your thing there? You can think of it as fertilizing your gut.
Yeah. That one.
Right. So if you're eating inulin sources, the bacteria break that down. They actually make short chain, medium chain fatty acids out of that, which you need. That controls your appetite. And those are the building blocks of the long chain fatty acids, which you build cells out of and skin cells out of and keeps you healthy, keeps your skin looking good. So you need to feed your bacteria so they make the products for you that keep you healthy. But inulin's one of the main ones. But I don't know what else I put on that list. I think I gave you. But it's basically fruit and veggies, right? That's the deal. Not so much protein and fats for the bugs.
I'm sure you're going to say they got to be raw.
It would be better. Yep. Mm-hmm. And the colors, eat all the colors, all the colorful stuff, right? And specifically, these guys in this article note, avoid deep fried carbs, French fries specifically. Don't like the deep fried carbs. So if you ever have an antibiotic, you got to start all over. For a couple months, you got to take probiotics and then support them with prebiotic, good food. Inulin, you can buy supplements of inulin. You can buy all kinds of things like that. In fact, we have one here. Actually, where is that? So people who are in trouble, I gave you a handout for kind of levels of trouble you're in. If you're in big trouble, you take probiotics, prebiotics, and digestive enzymes. If you're in moderate trouble, take probiotics and prebiotics. And if you're just trying to stay healthy, just take probiotics. Make sense? So pretty easy. Most of the people in this room are not in super trouble that I've noticed. It's the people who can't lose weight, can't gain weight, people with irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, can't eat this, can't eat that, or depression, anxiety, those things. That's kind of super trouble. Food sensitivities, leaky gut, if you're familiar with if you have wheat, if you're sensitive to wheat, well, that's big trouble land. You should be using digestive enzymes, probiotics, and prebiotic. And usually can turn that around in a year to get out of that situation. So these things are actually evidence, like fibromyalgia is like this. Just one expression of that sensitivity of inflammation. So if you give people with fibro probiotics and enzymes, adjust them, they don't have fibro in about 3 to 6 months. After years and years and years, it's not difficult. We do it all the time in here. They're stunned to hear this because they've never heard this before. That how could that possibly be? I got all the best doctors. They got white coats and crap, and you show up here with no haircut and crazy clothes. But actually, I do that now. I think it gives me more credibility. I used to wear, when I first got out of school, I was like 30 years old. I did wear a white coat, said Dr. Barrett on it. No, I know what I'm talking about. Now I go, I don't know. It is what it is. There's helping, this is the path. And either go with it or don't, but don't shoot the messenger. But if I had to dress up to convince you, well, that doesn't sound like very convincing. Now I can dress like whatever. And it's true. It's just true. What I'm telling you is true. It's just true. All right, last thing I want to share with you, for those who are really curious, is this stuff. You can be tested. You can have your stool tested and figure out what bugs you got going on. It's not inexpensive, however. It's about $900. That all just goes to the lab. It takes about 30 days. They have a kit, but if you want to find out what you got going on and how far off you are, this is how you do it. Direct Labs does it. It's actually Direct Labs sells it for somebody else, but it's about $900. They will lay out all the bacteria you got, and they will lay out a nice report of what those bacteria do to you or for you, and some steps to take to move in the right direction. So it gives you some examples of the broad aspect, what your bacterial diversity is. You should have a bunch of different bugs instead of just a few bugs. We kind of roughly know the math on it. So just so you know, that's out there. I don't know who in this room would need that. I would say this: if you're questioning where you're at, I probably wouldn't do that today if this is news to you. I would probably try and correct the bacteria by taking that for 3 to 6 months, and then do this kind of testing if you're really still having problems and get some directive about it. It's kind of spendy. It's $1,000, and man, that buys a lot of probiotics. You can buy 20 bottles of that crap for that, or 15 bottles of that, and take that for a year or something for the same money. And all this does say, I'm messed up. I got to take probiotics. You know, that's like people come in here with sciatica and they go, "Do I need an MRI?" Yeah, you could. Sure, everybody's got a bad disc. I can tell you got a bad disc. You just go, "Yeah, I messed up. Now what?" We'll get adjusted. You're back in the same boat. It's the same answer. So you do that stuff to figure out what to do next. But if you're not taking probiotics, I wouldn't be doing that testing. You're going to be messed up. You just are living in this environment. It just is what it is. But you can get it tested if you're wealthy and you just want to know that stuff because it's kind of cool. Have at it. We'll get it ordered for you and see what you got going and point you in the right direction. What else? So yeah, so that's what I got this though. Those of you who are new to the workshop days, we have discounts on all our stuff. You can buy whatever you want. But today we're talking about kids, by the way, kids chewable probiotics. This is the one in the fridge. It's very good. We've been using it for years and years. Prebiotic, if you're in big trouble. Digestive enzymes, these actually help if you just sprain your elbow or twist your ankle. That's very good stuff. So that's what we have. Everything's 10% off today if you want to get that kind of stuff. What else? Guests here. Never been here before. If you've never been here before, if you want to really get a handle on your health, you should have an evaluation of what your nervous system is doing because the interaction between your nervous system and your microbiome is huge. We do testing to figure out what your nervous system is doing and going to get that working right. So if you come here and listen to me for an hour now, we won't even charge you. But you have to do it in the next 2 weeks. So if you want to do that, Madeline will schedule an appointment. We don't charge you. It normally costs $100 to do the testing. That's x-rays or whatever. Basically, in a spinal evaluation, if you will. Make sure your nerves are your spine is lined up so your nerves can work right, because that's actually more important. You can get away with a lot of misbehavior and a lot of bad job conditions and bad diet if your nerves work right. If your nerves don't work right, you can have a personal trainer and somebody feeding you organic food, have a personal chef and silk sheets, and you're still going to be messed up. There's nothing you can do about it. Your nerves are the number one. So you start there. Don't go hire a trainer and go get a personal chef if you're sick. Get your nerves working right, and then do all the things that support it. That's what these things do. We're not a vitamin store. That drives me crazy, the vitamin stores. You take this for that, take this for that, take this for that. That's no different than Western medicine. What you want is your body to be able to adapt to the demands of the environment. That's all. What's your environment? Well, if you've got a physical job laying carpet, well, you're going to have some trouble. You probably need more help than the average bear. I got a gal who's got a massage therapist who comes to her house. She doesn't work. She's retired. She's wealthy. Massage therapist comes there. She comes in every month or so. That's good. You can do that. Most people, however, difficult jobs once a week, every other week. That's how you stay healthy. I've been doing it for 30 years, and I can tell people don't believe me when I tell them that's how you do it. You shouldn't have to do that. If you fix me, why do you got to do that? Well, there's no fix. I fix you, and you go out and you live your life again. It's like you brush your teeth every day. Why you got to brush your teeth tomorrow? Because you ate them and they got dirty from eating. Well, your spine gets goofed up from living. Bent over. Everybody does this crap. People work at computers. It's hard on you if you're on the hard floors. Living is hard. So this is a tool that will make you live longer and happier and healthier, and that's how we do it. So if you want, it's not for everybody. Everybody, some people I have found, talking to people over 32 years of doing this, that some people would prefer to be sick. They do. I have found that. I don't know why, but they do. It's all right. It's not. It's possible. I don't know. Because I can say this to people till I'm blue in the face. But and I do it here, people come here and they get better. And they go, okay, do this, come here twice a month or once a week or whatever. Nah, I'm fine. Okay. Well, then they're miserable. Then they come back. We got to learn it again. And then they finally go, you know what? I think I should come here once a week. That's a good idea. However you get there is however you get there. Because your nervous system staying clean does more for you than anything. The biggest bang for your buck. Yeah, you could come here for a year for, I don't know, what is it, $1,500, $1,800? I don't know what it is for a year. We're a lot of people's main primary care. So anyway, I know you guys know that, but share that with me. Also, do me a favor. We have to do this now. We have to do online. We have to find people online. We have to tell this story online all the time. So we're going to be creating videos and doing this for people online. This is the first step. Welcome, Facebook people. But it turns out online is very dependent on that crazy Google. the Google thing. So if you would, do me a favor, if you know how this works, go on to Google and find Vibrant Life Center and give us a review. 5-star ideally. If you got problems, talk to Madeline. Tell her, tell that damn Dr. Fleming. You know how she is. People like her so much more than me. She's not as funny as me. She's nowhere near as fun as me. What's that? Oh, man, yes. Yeah. Yeah, that is not true. In fact, so have you met her mother? Okay. So have you met her brother? Okay, he's in here all the time too. I would be probably the least verbose of this crowd. I'm not kidding. In fact, the very first, when she first started here, I don't know if you were here for her first workshop, our copier had broke that night. So I had to fix the copier ASAP because I couldn't get the guy. So I'm working on the copier and she's over here doing the seminar. And I go, holy F, that, she is talking so fast. I had to come over. That sounds just like me. God dang it. That's brutal. I'm working on it. I'm getting better though, ain't I?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right, whatever. I do what I can. But yeah, no, sweetheart. So she's doing so much better. You know, she's not even a year in, and she's so much farther ahead than I was when I got out of school. And my brother's a chiropractor as well, and it's 3.0 now. We're getting better. The Barretts are getting better at it. So we're getting there. So yeah. So come and see Dr. Fleming. Give her a review. Kind of funny. You don't like this, but one of her very first people she saw in here gave her a 1-star review, her first review. I had to laugh. because Dr. Fleming is just telling her what up. This is what you got to do. Now, Dr. Fleming's 30. And, the gal's like, I think she was a nurse. She was like 50 or 60-ish. She's like, I don't care for that attitude. It's a funny review. I had to laugh when I said I felt bad for her, but I knew exactly what happened. But because she knows this is how you do it. She would say it like I would say it, but I look just crazy enough to say it, and you go, hey, you're crazy. But she looks like a normal person then, and you say that like she would say what I would say, and it comes off kind of funny. She got to be a lot nicer about it. She's 30. And I don't have to. I'll just tell you what up. This is how it works. It's not for everybody, but if you're open to it, this is how it really works. I was watching a video and somebody said, in chiropractic, we believe that subluxation interferes with the nervous system. That's just dumb. That's like saying, in Minnesota, we believe the sky is blue. That's ridiculous. It just is what it is. Of course the nervous system runs everything. Like I was at the post office one day, and the gal's, she's like leaning over like this, in North St. Paul. She goes, Bob, you got some ibuprofen? I go, are you okay? She goes, I have a headache. I go, who's your chiropractor? She goes, I don't believe in chiropractors. I go, I'm standing right here. I'm a chiropractor. Oh, that's not what I mean. She goes, I just don't believe that crack in my neck can have anything to do with my headaches. Well, it turns out it does, but have it your way. I'm pretty sure ibuprofen doesn't know to go to your head or your toe or whatever, but do what you want, lady. Well, I can't help you if that's your position. Now, and I've often, you can argue that maybe Dr. Barrett isn't any good at it. You could say that. But you can't say that the nervous system doesn't have to do with your headaches, or the nervous system doesn't have to do with your stomach or your skin or your heart or your blood pressure. You can't say that because your nervous system runs everything. You could say, I suck at getting it to work good. You could say that. I don't believe in Dr. Barrett. Maybe Dr. Fleming might be better at it. I should do that. You could say that and I will laugh. Maybe she could be. That's a true story. She's much better than I. She's been doing it her whole life. I didn't start till I was 30. So, anyway, sorry to keep you guys so long, but that's all I got. You got any questions? Yes.
What's a digestive enzyme?
Oh, chemistry. Do you have chemistry?
Long time ago.
Okay. You remember what enzymes do in chemistry?
No.
Okay. Enzymes in chemistry. You have two things you're trying to put together And in your body, they're generally breaking them apart. They're creating a reaction. You take A plus B equals C, and an enzyme drives a reaction faster. If you add an enzyme, it drives a reaction faster, right? Remember that? Heats it up because of an enzyme. Well, in your body uses enzymes to break things down. So enzymes are used to break down. You eat a steak, you need enzymes to break down the steak. So enzymes used all over. You guys are familiar with coenzyme Q10, an actual enzyme, but it's a cofactor in an enzyme that helps repair your heart cells. So enzymes are used all over your body. They're used in the Krebs cycle to make your energy, but they're used all over your body. And there's 3 classes of enzymes: fat enzymes, carbohydrate enzymes, and protein enzymes. So if you have no gallbladder, you don't have the ability to break down fat in your diet anymore. So you should take enzymes, the fat enzymes, to help you digest the fat that you eat so that you can absorb fat and you still have good skin cells and hair cells and everything, because fat is good for your brain and good for things. So you need an enzyme if you had your gallbladder out and your body doesn't have the enzymes anymore. So you take a lipase, that's the fat enzyme. Lipase is the class, different names of that. People who have lactose problems can't digest lactose, which is pretty much everybody except for European descent white people. 90% of the planet cannot digest lactose because they don't have the enzyme lactase. Now that's just the enzyme for lactose. But sugar from fruit is fructose. What's the enzyme called? Correct, fructase. Yes. So sugar enzymes are the tases, right? Now, protein enzymes are called protease. And there's a few different versions of that. But generally in the body, for injuries, ankle sprains, whatever, for digestion problem, it's mostly proteins that people have trouble with. But that said, the product has all 3. This digestive enzyme made for digestion has lipase, protease, and carbohydrate enzymes. A couple different ones. It's very difficult. Here's what's going on. Your gallbladder is making bile, and when you eat food, it stretches your stomach, and that's the signal to contract the gallbladder. Stomach stretches, contract the gallbladder. Stomach stretches actually contract the colon. You have a bowel movement too. It's delayed about 30 minutes, a very slow reaction. But that stretch causes the gallbladder to contract. Now the gallbladder is collecting bile from the liver all day long, but it's concentrating it up to, like, I think it's even up to 100 to 1. I don't remember exactly. So it's very concentrated, and it acts like Dawn dishwashing liquid. It's an emulsifier for the fat. So it breaks down the fat into small molecules that you can absorb across the membrane. If you don't break down the fat, it sits in your gut, and it's these big, long molecules, and then it kind of putrefies. If you don't have quick digestion, it's going to sit in there for days, and then you get bloaty and gassy when you go to the Outback and you have a blooming onion, which you shouldn't do, but I've done. So lipase will break down that fat for you. So if you're going to go to the Outback and have a blooming onion, well, I don't know, stick some lipase in your pocket and have some lipase with your blooming onion, and then that will prevent you from having the gassy kind of stuff. Yeah. And so same thing is true for people who don't have lactase. Well, they can drink milk. I don't know why you would, but they can drink milk if they take lactase, because you can buy the lactase. So, in fact, I think there's a milk that comes with it, Lactate or something like that, comes with it. I don't know why you would drink milk at all. It's not good for you. It's not designed for you, and doesn't make any sense. And the government's promoting it. They're subsidizing it. So that's generally a clue you shouldn't do it. Yes.
So
Milk,
let's
I meant.
say you're going to the fair this weekend.
Oh, boy.
Would you suggest preventatively, right, not going, but would you suggest preventatively taking your enzymes?
So you should.
Going to the fair, and you may make poor choices while you're at the fair.
Well, so if you're somebody who's missing a gallbladder, I would. Yeah. If you.
Just a normal person should be.
No, it'll be fine. You can deal with it for a day. It's another stress in the environment. You get adjusted, you'll be fine. It's fine.
How do you know that you would need an enzyme?
Oh, people who need enzymes know they need enzymes. They know they can't eat anything. Their stomach's always goofing up.
Once you start with enzymes,
No.
you can just take them periodically.
Yeah, you take them with food. If you're someone who has problems with food in your digestive tract, you just take them with food.
So
If you're trying to solve an ankle sprain, you take them without food.
it actually takes care of an ankle sprain.
Because it's damaged tissue, and you need enzymes to carry away the debris.
What about my knee?
I've told you that 1,000 times at every other seminar I've been
I
here.
probably talk too fast.
That's true. That's true. That's a true story. I will own that. I have. That's true.
What did you just say?
Yes, that's true.
So what is it that I should take for my knee now? Could you talk too fast?
Specifically, a few different classes, but all of them are encompassed in this. But something as simple as, and it's not bromelain, is an enzyme in pineapple, believe it or not. See, you knew this. Where'd you get that piece of information?
From a magazine.
Nice. That was quick. I like it. It's the core of a pineapple. So that's one thing you could take, but specifically that's not a protease, but that helps move it along quicker too. But it's enzymes, digestive enzyme protease, bromelain, and antioxidants, because it's an oxidative stress to have tissue damage. You need to move that stuff out of there. Oxidative reaction.
Another question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not question, but even primary. I do take the enzymes, they really help me.
Yeah. With your digestion. For the people listening at home. Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Enzyme, and it really helps.
Yeah.
But I took a fair a couple of years ago, and I wanted a root beer bowl. And I'm lactose intolerant.
Mm-hmm.
So I had some peppermint oil with me. So I took the peppermint oil.
Yeah.
And I rubbed it around inside my mouth,
Mhm.
under my tongue.
Mhm.
And I went back, and I had a root beer float.
Mhm. Yeah. And for those listening at home, peppermint oil is commonly used as a digestive aid for people with upset stomachs. I have no idea why it helps. None. I have no idea why.
But it helps.
But you know the deal. You do not have lactase. Black people generally don't have lactase. I don't know. Nobody, no cows. I guess I don't know how people got that. How people got that, but they got that. So, any other questions? Did it kill y'all? Are y'all worn out? All right. Those of you listening at home, you can find us at 777-3611 if you want to give us a call. We're here for you. So, anyway, thanks everyone. Take that stuff home. Tell your friends. Do the Google us. Give Dr. Fleming a nice review.